Like a practice what you do and what you don't do in relationships. Most couples don't last when there's a lot of tribulations, and especially nowadays, it's just harder to date.
I truly believe that sex gets in the way of a true intimate connection from the body and the soul. Done that before and it never ended up well.
I was very serious about finding the woman that I thought I would marry because I felt the connection. Like, cool, like, I'll wait. There was things that I was struggling with that were really annoying and felt so stupid. As a coach, hired a coach because I'm like, I need to pay a dude to hold me accountable, and $5,000 to just hold me accountable for a few months and call me out on my shit.
A guy willing to take the time and do the work.
I had some deep abandonment, trust issues. My dad has cheated on my mom since as long as I can remember. I just didn't trust any men. When we first started dating, whenever he would have to go for longer work meetings or if he wanted to go out with the guys, I struggled heavy, would feel like I wanted to commit suicide because the separation was so much for me. Making the commitment and knowing that we both needed healing and that we were willing to be with each other during that.
All right. Welcome back to the Heather Godby Podcast. It was the experiment last week, but this week we're switching it up once again. I realized Joe Rogan has that, the Joe Rogan experience.
Oh, yeah.
Did I say experience or experiment? Doesn't matter. I am here with some great guests. I wanted to switch things up this time for a few reasons. Right now, the world is a little bit crazy. There's chaos everywhere. It's a little bit just kind of like a poo-poo vibe. So I am here to shake things up with Danna and Dylan.
Yep.
Hello.
Hello.
We're here to talk about the dating stories and everything that comes with it. The crazy, the chaos, the fun, the loving, the unexpected. And I have the two perfect guests for this. Let's go ahead and introduce you both. So tell me your story. I know we're going to hop into this.
Yeah. Individually, I also run my own podcast. But I've been just creating content for 10 years now, for a long time. So kind of just on and off. I fell off the game, came back, and now it's all I know how to do. So here I am. And then Dylan is my husband.
That's all.
That's all. Okay. He's a full-time husband. I'm kidding.
The best accessory there is.
Yeah,
I need to find one.
I am an entrepreneur, men's coach. I own a company called I Believe in You, which is this bracelet right here, which has it's designed to be worn until you're inspired to give it away. And then inside the tag is an NFC, or inside the patch, the NFC tag. And then we have a mobile app. So you tap the bracelet to the back of your phone, opens up our app, and that captures the journey of the bracelet. So they're designed to be worn until you're inspired to give it away. And once you give it away, you'll forever see where it goes, who gets in, the impact it continues to make. So that's a startup that I've been building for 4 years now. We're a month or two out from launch finally, which I'm fairly removed from. But so my main thing is my men's coaching, which is solving relationship problems. So through leadership and performance specifically, so helping them become a healthy masculine leader. And I've been doing that for 6 years. Before that, I was a detective on the SWAT team in New Orleans for 5 years, and that was another life.
Yeah.
Okay, my shock face is not for show, you guys. I don't know much about my guest some of the time, a lot of the time. This is one of those times. And I am, number one, impressed by both of you. We were chatting before we started recording, and you do everything yourself for your podcast. And then the whole SWAT thing, holy moly. And can I do I need to participate in that band.
Oh, yeah. I put it on right before I came, so I could give this to you.
Are you serious?
Yeah. Yep, that's yours.
Oh my gosh, are you serious?
Yeah.
Okay, This is so my style too. This is so
If you turn
cute.
it to the other side, there's a different design on every one. If you flip it inside out, there's 3 X's, or 4 X's, I'm sorry. This is the X's add up. So each X stands for a failure. And if you have enough X's eventually, or enough failures eventually, you have the full picture. to succeed in whatever you're pursuing. So
This is incredible.
Yeah.
thanks.
What made you think of that?
I didn't think of it. My business partner did probably a decade ago, and then 4 years ago, it came up in a conversation that I felt like at the time it was like right after 2020, after COVID and everything. And
Everybody needed it for sure.
our friendship led to the reigniting of the vision.
Wow.
And I've been helping to build it for the last 4 years. And it's not even like my main thing at all, but it's
that is
something
so
yeah.
incredible. Just the story behind it and everything. I think that's wildly awesome. So thank you for sharing.
The pursuit of that led to probably our biggest hardships. So we'll probably talk about that.
Yeah.
I cannot wait. I cannot wait.
Yeah. Actually,
Okay.
both of us kind of started our like true entrepreneurship journey together and to some degree. So it definitely, all of it came with a lot of hardship when we first started.
So you guys have been together for a while then.
Only almost 4 years.
We're going on 4 years.
We're going on 4, but we
For me, that's
experienced
a while.
Yeah. Yeah, we had a lot of trials and tribulations, we'll say, for the first 2 years.
First 18 months, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We went in.
Okay, so I was talking to Andy, which is our mutual friend, and we were talking about how you two had to overcome a lot of things. And I don't know anything. I just know that you had to overcome a lot of challenges. And one of my questions was if your family and friends had any interference with that and how you overcame that. But before any of that, I want to say, because you guys have been through so many trials and tribulations and you're sitting here married, newlywed, as I hear.
Yeah.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
When was it?
Last November.
November
Wow.
30th. So we're like 5-6 months in.
Yeah.
Whoa,
Yeah.
newlyweds. That's amazing.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Appreciate it.
You guys are giving me all like the hopes and just I'm really needing this to be like a practice, what you do and what you don't do in relationships. Obviously, I know that you guys have been through your stuff and we're going to talk about it. But I want to know, because most couples don't last
Yeah.
when there's a lot of tribulations, and especially nowadays, it's just harder to date.
Yeah.
Just super hard to date. So take me to the beginning. How did you guys meet?
We always struggle to tell this story because we have kind of been in and out of each other's lives unknowingly because we've been a part of the same friend group, but we never really spoke to each other. It was like,
There's the first time that we actually met.
yeah.
I didn't remember it, but she did. And then the second time that we met for the first time, I remembered it, but she didn't.
Yeah.
No
And then we finally
way.
connected and both remembered it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my gosh,
So
that
we've just been
kinda-
kind of like in and out of the friend group, just, existing, but not knowing each other existed for a while.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
Then, and then we connected at the Just Grow podcast party.
Yeah,
Our
he was
friend
actually-
Nico Rapkiles runs that podcast party. And our friend Bree was on the podcast, so we were both there for it. And we were just in conversation.
Yeah.
And I guess you can tell that part of it.
It's funny because he actually just came back from his travels and we were having a conversation, and I was in a state of, I was giving up on dating. Not that I was giving up, I just didn't care anymore. I had been going on a couple dates and I was like, this isn't for me. It'll come whenever it comes. And then, so when I was talking to him, there was no indicator as to, I didn't find anything interesting because I wasn't looking.
Yeah, you're
And-
not looking for
Right. I was
him
like,
to fit a specific.
yeah, nothing. I wasn't looking at other guys. I was just very much in my own bubble. And then something happened where we were having a conversation with one of his previous employees, and me and his, I'm just going to say Taylor, we were talking and we ended up talking about shoes and something. And he felt like he couldn't contribute to the conversation more because now it's just girl talk. And
He's like, yeah, my shoes too.
yeah. Usually guys are like, they'll stay in the conversation even though there's nothing they're contributing, that just to be,
Right, yeah.
nice. But he was like, sorry, ladies, I hate to interrupt. I can't contribute to this conversation. I'm going to go. And he just like left. I was like,
I just walked away.
That's actually a really solid exit.
Exactly.
You
But it
know,
was like,
like-
so I hadn't seen this a lot because I feel like a lot of men don't necessarily they just don't have that. What is the word I'm looking for?
I think there's confidence and
Respect, even. I feel like that was really respectful for you to say that.
Well, and I just like I can't.
For lack of better terms, he had balls.
Yes.
Balls.
Yeah.
It was like he knew that he wasn't going to continue this conversation. So instead of being a people pleaser and hanging out, he was like, "Peace, I'm out."
Or trying to like work my way in to try to like hit on her or anything like that. And like I had my eye on her for a little while, but just from a physical attraction point, I was like, I can't tell if she's like a Scottsdale girl or like what. I checked out her Instagram and
he was all up in your stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, I love this. Guys do that too then. So they
they
for
do,
sure.
for sure.
But I'm like, I don't know if I'm feeling her, if I'm just like physically attracted to her. And I had just gotten back. I just spent 2 years single, not dating, working only on myself.
Yeah.
And I just spent 7 weeks in the jungle in Mexico on my own. And I just come back and I was like feeling ready to start dating. And that's like right when we actually started to connect.
Yeah, but that was like the first thing that it just caught my attention. I was like, oh, he seems interesting.
It's the little things though like that paint a bigger picture of who that person is.
Yeah.
Something that small.
The details matter. I remember actually he complimented I had 2 anklets. And like my style, so he complimented my anklet jewelry.
And
Again,
the
details. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Did you think about that one long and hard?
No, not at all. It was just very genuine.
Okay.
But then that night, the after party was at my apartment, and she was in line for the bathroom, and it was a long line. And I walked up to her and acted like it was a big secret. I'm like, listen, there's another bathroom. Don't say anything. Just follow me.
Yeah, mind you, I didn't know that this was his place.
She didn't even know she was in my house.
No way.
At all.
None at all. So I just thought he was being creepy.
Oh my gosh.
But she followed me anyways.
Look, okay, in all fairness, we had a bit of Sweeties to smoke.
Yeah,
okay, so my favorite.
Yeah, we're a little stony baloney. And so I brought her to the bathroom, but then afterwards, it was like an inside joke. I'm like, okay, you owe me now. You owe me. I'll cash in later. And then when she was leaving, I told her we should connect one-on-one soon. And I didn't get your number. I think you told me to DM you, but then but then I didn't.
Oh my God, this is great. This is so epic.
For 2 weeks.
It was
I had some other dates lined up.
No.
Yeah, so I had to make sure they weren't it first before I asked her out.
I love the
I'm just kidding. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, I can see that though. You're back from Mexico. You're just kind of doing your thing, and you're kind of not dating.
I was, but I wasn't having any luck in this space, and so I
just wasn't your priority.
Yeah,
wasn't first on the
docket. I started
docket.
focusing on me, and so I wasn't really.
They say that's when it happens, but I've been focusing on me for I don't know for a very long time.
Yeah, like,
and I'm waiting for that special moment. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you ended up DMing her, or
eventually,
And because we were in the same friend group, we were both kind of hesitant to like treat it as a true date. Because
I honestly just was like, if this ends up sucking, we're friends 100%. That was like the goal I had.
Yeah. So we ended up, and I just went on quite a few dates and spent not a lot, but a decent amount of money on dates. And I'm like, and I'm not sure. So
my gosh, tell him our first date.
Yeah. So we hung out at her place, but because I didn't have a car at this time.
Because you just moved back?
Dude parked down the street.
I drove my assistant's car, which was a Chevy Spark, looked like a punch bug.
Okay.
Yeah.
To her place, parked around the corner, and walked so that way she couldn't see what I was driving.
Yeah. That is so smart
and sketchy.
Yeah.
And a little sketch, but hey.
And we had, a bottle of wine and talked for 5 hours straight on the couch and had an incredible conversation.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I think you could talk a little bit about that because of what you expected compared to what the connection was.
Yeah, honestly, I was surprised that I even invited him over in the first place because it's like I don't cross that boundary, especially for a first date as a woman. Like, this is my place. But because we were in the same friend group and I had vetted for him, like I asked around the friends, I was like, is he a good guy or is he sleazy? Like, what's the deal? Lots of good things about him. So I was like, okay, you can just come over. Let's make this easy, because I wasn't treating it as a date anyways. But when he did come over, I just prefaced with the DM. I was like, this is so straightforward. Because I honestly, like I said, if I was going to date, it was going to be 100% in anyways. So I sent him a message and I was like, just so you know, don't expect any sex tonight. Don't expect anything.
She
always put it
sex.
on
It was like SEGGZ.
I didn't know if there was like some weird restriction. I don't know. I don't know why.
I'm the same way. I'm always like, or I like put a little star.
Yeah,
you know,
just
not
so
sure.
you know. But let's not. Yeah. So I let him know that there was no intention of that. That was like off the table. And
Plus, that's the biggest turnoff. When a guy expects that, it's like,
especially like
Mental
inviting
stimulation.
over to the house. I feel like a lot of guys expect that that's what's going to happen.
yeah, it's
So,
easy to.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but we had really good conversation for 5 hours straight. All of a sudden, it was like 1 a.m. And
So time was flying. You guys didn't realize it.
and we talked about our values, our past, our
Oh my
like,
God.
our dreams.
He had
All the
really
things.
long hair at the
My
time.
hair was like down to my nipples.
And I thought he was a hippie. Like, I thought his entire life goal was to go
Whoa.
live on the beach, like, perceptions, right?
In a van down by the bay with a water
He's like,
gun.
actually, it was.
Yeah.
At the time.
So I was surprised to find out that our dreams and visions and goals actually aligned. So it was very
That's
surprising.
wild.
Yeah.
And then right at 1 a.m., she's like, I'm hungry. I'm going to make raviolis. I'm like, raviolis? Chef Boyardee?
Everybody has guilty pleasures.
Hardcore judged her. That was like a health nut.
Oh, are you serious?
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. She's like over here not
I
giving
still
Yeah,
love
just like grabbing a
ravioli.
can of Chef Boyardee out of the
in her
cupboard.
happy place.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, actually, at first she said bacon. I'm like, yes.
Yeah,
And
it
then
was too
she
much
switched
effort.
it to something that was easier. And so then she made it and she sat down at the counter and she stuck the fork in it. And that was, at that point, I'm like, okay, I'm going to use like the fact that she's about to ruin her breath as a reason to kiss her. And so she literally had the fork coming towards her mouth. And I grabbed her wrist, turned her chin towards me, and said, like, before you ruin your breath. And I kissed her.
You know what's funny is most people will find that really romantic, but I love my food. And so
You're like,
when he
distracted.
stopped me, I was like, excuse me, sir. I was about to do something here.
Yeah, she also didn't hate it. So.
I didn't hate it. I kissed him back. But
So were you feeling it at that moment? Like you, obviously when you have that mental connection,
Yeah.
everything else flows.
Yeah.
It's so hard to be attracted from looks alone. And
Yeah.
it sounds like you guys kind of took it it's slow but fast.
Yeah,
It's
we
kind of
went-
Yeah,
weird.
we went deep,
Yeah.
fast, and
Very.
really, because neither of us were trying to play games. Like I was previously engaged and
Okay.
and called off a wedding. She was previously married and got divorced.
Yeah.
Wow.
Then we both went back into the dating world, and in Scottsdale, like neither
so
of us were
hard.
having any
It's hard.
success.
Yeah.
And so we weren't playing games, and I'd rebuilt my confidence to a level where I'm like, love me or hate me, take it or leave it. Like, this is who I am.
That's the most
Likewise.
attractive. I
Very.
love that.
Yeah.
It's almost like
And-
you guys were on the same frequency at that time.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We both, and like from the beginning, we were just like, let's just talk about everything and
Yeah.
just see how it goes.
We were very just open, honest, and raw.
Yeah.
And so my plan was to kiss her and then leave. To like not make any
Okay.
effort or anything.
Okay.
And because I'm like, this is something I think I want to pursue. And so I don't want to mess it up.
And I slept with him.
And as soon as she was done eating, it just like,
yeah.
one thing led to another very quickly.
It's
Wow.
not planned, but like,
But
yeah.
sometimes that's
I
the
slept
best.
over and
Yeah.
we had sex again in the morning and
then-
then I left.
Yeah.
And then here we are.
Yeah.
And here we are.
Yeah.
Whoa. Okay.
But okay.
There was
No,
definitely
we'll
some-
wait.
some
Instead
other-
of answering all your questions before you
But
ask
I'm like,
them, go
so
ahead.
you guys are doing so good. Just
Yeah.
keep it coming. How did you feel the next day when you guys left each other? Were the sparks flying? Were you like, this could be it? Or like, what did I just do? What are we gonna do this again?
I would say it was a little bit of both. I was definitely a bit angry with myself for sleeping with him because I was part of a standard that I had set. But I was excited about meeting him because I feel like we were very connected from the beginning. But he ended up coming over again the next day. So he was very, first of all, if you guys really like somebody, text them. like actually connect with them afterwards, because when he texted me and it was like very thoughtful responses, thoughtful text, it meant a lot to me and it kind of solidified the connection that we had. So then he ended up coming over the next day and we started getting very intimate again. And immediately I just told him, I was like, look, I'm going to be super honest with you.
She was scared.
I was scared. I actually was breathing heavy because I told him I just had major regrets for sleeping with him, that I regret doing that. And I actually wanted to stop and not continue having sex.
Wow.
Even after we opened that door already.
Wow.
Yeah, I was nervous because when I told him, I was actually crying because I really wanted you to understand what that meant for me and how that hurt me, that I went against my own boundary. And he was quiet for a minute and was like...
She was nervous. She thought that I was going to be like, all right, well, like, I'm out.
Yeah. I mean, most guys would, or at least they would try again and see if I would go against my boundary again. But he was very respectful. He let me know that he's like, you know what? I really respect that. And
wow.
I told him the reason why is I truly believe that sex gets in the way of a true intimate connection from the body and the soul. Like, we can easily fall in love because we have all that lust. Yeah.
Yes.
So I didn't want that anymore. I'd done that before and it never ended up well. So I wanted to know him for him before we got to know each other intimately like that. So I thought it was weird to revoke the sex card, but he was okay with it.
Yeah, I love that you did that. I think that's very empowering. I never thought to do that, which is weird to say because I've had those instances where I've regretted it and still went on to date the person. But if I could redo it or had that chance, I probably would have done it that way because it does it takes away from that mental connection.
Yeah, 100%.
And the closeness. So good for you too for being someone willing, well, let's just say it, a guy willing to take the time and do the work. Because usually it seems like these days, because it comes so easily, that you don't necessarily need to put in the work. It's like, I'll just go date somebody else.
Yeah.
But you guys both showed up to the table knowing, well, you were interested.
Well,
but still, that's not sometimes always enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
yeah, it's true.
And I was very serious about finding the woman that I thought I would marry. And so because I felt the connection, I'm like, cool, like, I'll wait.
How did you know you were ready to find the one?
Well, after, being engaged in a relationship for 5 years and then destroying that through the things that happened in New Orleans to me as a police officer, and then spending 2 years on a very long healing and personal development journey, if I was going to return back to dating, it was with the intention of finding a partner again.
Intention.
Yeah.
Yes.
And at the time, I was 31, 32.
Yeah.
And so I just felt ready. And because of who she was in our connection, like I'll be patient. And we ended up waiting like another month and a half without having sex again.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. But then you got to relive that experience.
Yeah.
I want to say like that's probably your real first time because you guys were so much closer.
Yeah, for sure.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's magical. Now I want to know about the crappy part.
We did the fluff, now we're ready.
Yeah.
Give me the dirt.
Yeah. How did we start? What was like the beginning of our rough patches? It might have been
after
IBIY.
Oh, no.
Oh my gosh. Our own personal healing. I forgot about that. Yeah. When you get into relationships, when you first start, you can do all the work yourself and learn so much about yourself and how you interact with the world. But when you open up your heart to somebody, all the baggage can come out.
I just had this discussion. Like the triggers that you think that you're over because you've been single for so long.
Yeah, you've been single.
Yeah, you haven't
like,
had any practice with another person.
There's things there's a lot that you can heal on your own, but there's things you can't heal until you're in a relationship with somebody who's safe enough to do the work with.
Yeah.
And that's what we were able to figure out.
Yeah.
But I think
it became a lot more evident. Yeah.
I think after Lake Tahoe, because that was like our real honeymoon phase.
Yeah.
It's like those first 3 months. And then at a certain point, because we were very open and honest with each other.
from the beginning, we talked about our exes. We talked about past dating experiences. We opened up about the people we were dating prior to finding each other. Like, I was about to go on a trip to California to go meet with a guy that I was like somewhat kind of dating, and he was about to go to Mexico.
I had plane tickets already booked to go to see a chick in Mexico that I had met before I'd come back.
Yeah, but we were just so open and honest about all of that. And although we were very triggered during a lot of the conversation, like he was still talking to his ex, actually. Ooh. I remember that being like a thing that I was working through. Yeah. But we just, I guess the full intention with each other was like, look, if we're going to do this, we're going to do this and start the foundation right. Solid with honesty.
And a lot of people are afraid to talk about the past or each other's past because their ego gets so triggered and then they start to feel like they're not enough and all these insecurities come up. But there's also so much to learn. Mm-hmm. And you're essentially given the blueprint. What did work, what didn't work for that person. So
that's
I was able to ask her, like, okay, well, what about your marriage was amazing? Like, what parts were good?
Mm-hmm. And early on. That. Because a lot of people don't even want to think about that person in another relationship, but instead of making that a barrier, you guys used it to your advantage.
Well, and men specifically don't ever want to think of, like, they want to think in their head that they're the only ones that have ever had sex.
Oh, guys do that? Because women, I will tell you, I'm a crazy person when I don't want to think about that, but maybe I should, but not.
Well, it's a matter of healing and understanding that, like, your journey, like her journey and my journey, led to creating the people that we are today, to have this relationship. And without those experiences, we wouldn't be the person we are. They would be falling in love with that person.
Yeah,
right?
No.
So, but it wasn't easy at all. Like, learning that the two guys that she had dated before me, both were making like 8 figures. They were in better shape than I was. Like I.
Oh, what's their names?
I would say them. I don't think we can.
No, I'm just kidding. I don't want to know.
They're one of them is very well known. Like most entrepreneurs know.
Interesting.
Right? And so it brought up insecurities for me.
That would bring insecurities to me too.
That I really struggled with. Yeah. And working through them, I was like, well, there's really only, now's right around the time that I actually, as a coach, hired a coach because I'm like, I need to pay a dude to hold me accountable because
I love that.
And just, so I found a dude that I trusted, I felt was a good coach, and handed him $5,000 to just hold me accountable for a few months and call me out on my shit. And that was 3 months into us dating.
Yeah. See, I'm sorry, nothing can replace that, the kind of human you are with money, because you are rare. Mm-hmm. And money can't, it just doesn't, you're the prize. Like, you know what I mean?
The fact that he took initiative to hire a coach before he spiraled was so unheard of. I didn't even know that he hired the coach for him working through his insecurities with my past dating. Like, I had no idea. I thought he did it for business. And then I ended up having a one-on-one session with his coach. And he kind of alluded
Months
to the
later,
fact, that you actually hired him for me. I was like, for me?
Yeah. Did you tell her that you were insecure about her?
Yeah, we had very open conversations about it. But it was even like, there was things that I was struggling with that were really annoying and felt so stupid. Like, she had a hoodie from Aruba that some dude that like flew her out. Yeah. So again, this financial, like I was making okay money, but not that kind of money at all whatsoever. And like, this dude flew her out to Aruba and all this stuff. And she had this hoodie from Aruba, and every time she wore it, it would piss me off.
Oh, I get it.
And then the other dude that is well known and making a lot of money basically gave her a wardrobe of this brand that's really nice. I'm like, I like the brand, but every time I see it, even till this day, when I see it, I think of him. But it doesn't bother me anymore like it used to. I just don't care. It's okay.
I love that you in your masculine, you're able to say that, because I always thought that that's a very feminine thing of like the jealousy. And I think that might create problems in relationships, or when you're trying to get to know somebody. If they are secretly jealous or they're secretly insecure, they're going to do things that are going to make you think that they don't like you. Mm-hmm. And really, it's just an internal problem that they need to work through. Yeah. Because a lot of guys run. A lot of guys will use manipulation. There's so many things that guys do.
Yeah.
But all grace to you, because you stepping outside of that and just being truly organic to yourself, like that's the key, right? You're
But that
strengthening
requires
yourself.
confidence. It requires a lot of confidence.
And humility, willing to accept
Yeah.
that there
And
is
self-awareness.
things that you're not capable of
Self-awareness.
solving yourself.
Yeah.
And so you sought help, and that was very admirable.
I mean, and then on the other side was the stuff that she was battling with.
Yeah, so I had some deep, deep abandonment, trust issues. My dad has cheated on my mom since as long as I can remember, and he's obviously like the first male figure that I looked up to. And so I just didn't trust any men. I was very, very against men, which is weird.
The same.
Yeah.
I feel that. I know that feeling.
Yeah. And so when we first started dating, whenever he would have to go for longer work meetings or if he wanted to go out with the guys, I struggled heavy to the point where I even would feel like I wanted to commit suicide because the separation was so much for me and I felt like he didn't love me.
This is so relatable.
Yeah. And it's like nobody really talks about how intense that feeling can feel.
Dark.
It
you don't want to
is.
get out of bed.
Yes.
You could cry. I tried to take my life, and a lot of it stemmed from the guy who I was in love with.
Yeah.
And it's a very lonely feeling.
It is. And then
Very.
when you try and especially if it's given to someone who doesn't know how to hold that space for you, I'm grateful that Dylan was very gentle with me because I let him know, hey, I'm struggling with this. Can you help me work through it?
But I wasn't at first. I struggled with that first because I'm like, I know who I am.
Mm-hmm.
I know that I'm a man of integrity and a man of my word. And I have not done anything for you to not trust me. And now I'm paying the price of what all these other men have done. And it would piss me off. And I get frustrated with her because I felt like she didn't trust me, and I felt like I didn't deserve it.
But
and
it
so
took me having to explain to him where it all came from. So it took a lot of self-awareness on my end to say, hey, I'm recognizing that this is a problem because I had this same issue with my past relationship and I didn't realize it until now. And so I asked him out of humility, I'm like, look, I'm struggling with this. I know I'm asking a lot from you to be like, okay, I'm going to hold space for you, even though you don't deserve the mistrust that I'm giving you. But he was eventually, but through understanding my story and really loving me, he was like, okay, we're gonna try and work through this together. And there was one night that was so pivotal in the healing of that was, oh my gosh, I it's weird because when you think about memories, you can re-pull up those emotions that were associated with it. But I knew that this was something that I needed to overcome. And so the only way I was going to do it was through practice. And so I actually asked him, I'm like, look, can you go out with the guys? Go out with the guys knowing that I'm going to do some major work at home. And if I text you, can you just let me know everything's okay? But at the end of the day, I'm going to refrain from texting you. I need to do some work. Go out with the guys. I need to test some things. And so he went out. And I have this, I call it my trauma bean bag.
Because oh my God, I love that. Can I steal that?
Yeah. I have a bean bag that I do, I've done the most internal work. I've cried, I've punched it, I've sat in my sadness for hours on this bean bag. And so I went to my trauma bean bag and I just, instead of distracting myself, because oftentimes whenever he would go out with the guys, I would counteract that by trying to distract myself by either going out myself or doing something to entertain me. So
whiskey
I'm not
and playing video
drinking
games.
whiskey.
Yeah. Drinking would be a big thing for me. Just to do the escapism, get out of my own way, my own mind.
Exactly. But this time I was like, the only way I'm going to work through this is if I actually sit with this feeling, even though it's uncomfortable. So I literally sat there for hours until something came up. I'm sitting there, silence, just wondering. I'm like, okay, my mind is starting to wonder. It probably took me about 5 hours of him being out that I started to feel the heaviness. I'm like, oh my God, the abandonment's coming in. Oh my gosh, I'm hurting. Why am I panicking? I started feeling this anxiety build up inside me. But instead of allowing it to consume me, I started to think about all of the moments where, why did this initial feeling come up? and remembering and like learning how to forgive myself for the times that I felt like I had to protect myself against these things, but that I'm old enough now to be able to work through that. And so I just kept telling myself, I'm like, it's okay that you hated men. It's okay that you had a mistrust with guys because you had to. Like the only times you were so young, you had no idea when you saw your dad cheat on your mom, like you had to protect yourself. You built this shield, but you don't need it anymore. And I kept repeating this like in my head, you don't need this shield. You don't need this shield. And eventually, like after breaking down for probably another 2 hours, I felt like, and it's weird because you might think that something like this can't just be healed within, overnight. But I felt like that was the huge breakthrough that I needed to start trusting you again.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when you came home, I was like, I'm ready to party.
Are you serious?
Yeah. But like not actually.
The thing though that was pivotal before that was there was a moment that she realized that if she didn't start taking responsibility for the work that she needed to do, that she was going to lose me.
That was, very huge.
And in at the same time that she started to take responsibility for the work that she needed to do, I realized that although her healing isn't my responsibility, that doesn't mean that I can't take responsibility for becoming a safe space for that healing.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And so these two things were happening kind of simultaneously. We were both because as a coach, I can hold space like crazy for everybody else.
Yeah.
But when it feels personal, like I feel like you don't trust me and it's questioning my character, even though I know who I am and I know how I've been showing up consistently for you, then I would get triggered and I would end up matching her emotions and meeting her in the same place. And I have a large range of emotions and now I've done the work to like bring it into this baseline of like smaller range, even though I have access to both the very high highs and very low lows. But actually that was the following year was my ringer of really dialing that in. But it really required both of us just to do the work and be committed to the work.
Yeah.
Because
I think that's the
realized,
biggest thing is like making the commitment and knowing that we both needed healing and that we were willing to be with each other during that.
Yeah, because
we were like, if we're going to do this, if we don't solve this now, we're going to have to do it again in the next relationship.
that was what I was just going to say.
Okay.
That is such
So you may as well.
something that little and simple. I mean, it's not little, the work, but something so, in theory, simple is so impactful. I could see why you guys are together. You guys are both just beautiful human beings. I mean,
Appreciate it.
in the depth alone, I don't typically sit down with two people that have this kind of depth. Not to say, it's just you don't get there, very often with people these days. And it's fascinating to hear a story where you guys were able to go through this growth, because a lot of people, they don't do the growth in the relationship. It always happens after they're broken.
Well, and that's because they give up.
They give up.
And they keep repeating the same patterns and thinking that it's the other person.
Yep.
And that they just need to find the right person that's not going to require them to do the healing or to grow and just accept who they are. But that just doesn't work unless you find yourself with somebody who's passive. And if someone's passive and doesn't actually confront those things, then what builds is resentment. And then what builds from that resentment is a wall between your two hearts. And then you end up not attracted to each other and eventually cheating or breaking up anyways.
It is a whole cycle.
Yeah.
Right? So
I feel like I'm getting a therapy lesson right now, and I absolutely love it. I'm like,
and that was
yes,
the
that
beginning.
makes sense.
That was the beginning.
Then me and my business partners invested $500,000 into a partnership, got burnt, found ourselves $1 million in debt with 27 investors.
And I was still living off of my money that I had made in real estate. So I was like at the tail end of my savings. I did pretty well in real estate for a couple of years, and I was able to take 2 years off of work, just off of those savings.
That's awesome.
But it was like at the tail end when I was starting to finally dwindle in my savings because I went all in on content, and he had that whole situation happen.
It's like the universe is like, okay, you guys got this. And then it's like, but we're going to test just one more time, maybe a couple more times.
Yeah, we thought we were in the clear.
It was a big test.
Yeah.
That's very scary. Money is such a thing where it just can devastate you, cripple you. So you guys were in a full-blown relationship at this time,
Yeah,
right?
we're now
So
living
you're
in her house together.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah. And
Oh, and there was also a decision for you to step into full provider. We had a trip in Mexico where we felt like our masculine and feminine energies were very imbalanced. I was very deep in my masculine, trying to control and manage things because that's the way I used to do
you think
things.
that's because of the abandonment issues? Because that's
100%.
how okay,
100%.
She's hyper masculine, hyper independent, hyper critical.
I get that because
This feminine woman that you see was she had a like feminine essence to her, but it was like so buried under this like
that's what people
hardened
get
shell.
confused when we talk about masculine versus feminine. It's not about how you are carrying yourself on the outside. It's really about your behaviors and how you react to things and how you project or carry yourself forward. But I was always in my masculine. I can take care of this. I don't need help.
Yes.
For me to ask for help is like, oh gosh, it would like nails on a chalkboard.
I used to hate it. Now I've gotten a lot better. Now I ask him for everything. I'm like, babe, can you do this?
So you must be really balanced masculine and feminine because you seem like you understand yourself, you're self-aware.
Yeah, but there was a time where because she was so far in her masculine, I didn't realize I wasn't aware that she was actually in a way pushing me into my feminine. Because it works as just like our chemistry works just like magnets. And so if we're both in the masculine, eventually to connect, somebody has to flip.
Yes.
And then connect.
Or you'll butt heads continuously.
And so there was a time where she would be like asking me like, how was your day? And I'd be like, good. And then she'd be like, yeah, but like, that's it. Just tell me more. And it went from not sharing much with her to sharing everything with her. And then I'd be sharing all the stressful things that would then stress her out. It's like, okay, like, if I lost a client or something like that, which that never actually happened. But
if something were to.
Right, especially like financially, if there was things that were stressed out, I think that deal that wasn't going through or they weren't fulfilling on their promise, it's like sharing that was then leading to stress because her number one priority as a woman is her safety and security.
Right.
And so... And then I all of a sudden was talking about my feelings all the time. And when a man is talking about his feelings, his estrogen increases and his testosterone decreases. And
I didn't know that. Physically it does that?
Yeah. Not to digress too much into that whole, because we used to want to coach on masculine and feminine, and we ended up like that's a whole other story. But it's what we studied a lot. We love the topic because it truly is.
I love this.
It's such a powerful thing to learn when you're in a relationship and biological.
I didn't know I was in my masculine until I really had to do some self-analyzing and how can I ever find the guy I want and need in my life if I'm filling his position for him?
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. You have to give the space for the man to step into that role.
Yes.
Because if you don't, he's going to continue to just he could slip into his feminine.
But it was really tough for us when it became now a financial challenge, because it was to the point where our electric and like hot water got turned off.
Yeah.
And so you guys went through the trenches.
I was driving her to the gym so she could take a hot shower, and I was taking calls with investors. I'd connect to their Wi-Fi and be in the car on my laptop taking calls with investors.
Yeah.
And then I'd be Ubering from 4 a.m. to 4 p.m.
I just
shut down my coaching company to go all in on I Believe in You.
Yeah.
And so I cut off all revenue to go all in on that partnership, and then got burnt.
Yeah.
And so
I was like
doing
still
that.
obviously figuring out my own stuff with my business, and it wasn't like I wasn't generally making money yet from content. And so I started picking up caddy gigs.
Yeah, so she was caddying like for golfers.
For like bachelor
did you get
guys.
good tips?
The tips were good.
She would make $600 in like 3 hours and make more than what I made like in 3 days Ubering.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, sometimes those gigs are like, okay,
they do pay
smart
well.
move.
Yeah. Yeah, but I didn't enjoy it though, because it was absolutely like we would caddy for bachelor parties and
when you know what
like,
you're there for. You're there to be pretty and you know.
Yeah.
So
which is just taking a huge hit to my ego. The fact that she even had to do that, let alone was making more money than I was, because I was doing 4 a.m. to 4 p.m. Monday through Friday. And then I was serving at a restaurant on the weekend. I went back to serving after years of not working for anybody else.
How did you guys do that?
I don't know.
Smoked a lot of weed.
We smoked a lot of weed
seriously,
every single night. That was the only way we got
that's
through
how
that.
I would have to get through.
That's how we coped.
So what was your communication like when you guys were going through this? Because money is the number one, aside from like cheating or anything like that, is like one of the biggest reasons why people separate or break up.
Yeah.
So what was that like?
That was the most conflict.
Yeah. Because there was a lot of resentment being built up. Like I was angry for him not being able to step into the full provider role, which, you know, and that time we were slipping into those roles a little soon.
Well, and so I stepped into it, and she started to finally experience her feminine for the first time, and then all of a sudden it was taken from her.
And I didn't want to go back. Yeah. So I held a lot of resentment.
It was kind of stripped.
Yeah.
Okay.
So because I had to go back into that workspace, and especially in a place that I wasn't like in love with.
Yeah.
So we had a lot of difficult conversations. We argued quite a bit.
Telling you, it's the stress of money. Money can ruin everything.
It destroyed my parents' relationship, and
it just is one of those things.
I mean, it's hard because when you're in survival mode, it's like you can't help but be in the like high stress all the time.
Absolutely.
We were literally having to be so selective with the food that we ate. We're like, okay, we can't order all of that. We're gonna order like just the eggs this time.
It's like your joy is stripped.
It is,
you know.
Yeah, and it's hard to get out of like. How do you experience or feel abundance when everything around you is like the water?
I just had this conversation with someone. It's like, because I was put into a situation where I'm like, I don't like feeling this way, whatever that subject was that made me feel a certain way. And it's like, I need to get out of that. And I had an aha moment of like, when we do preach this, just surrender and things will work out and being your best, highest self and highest vibe, all that kind of thing. And it's like, I had one of those moments where I'm like, there's no way I can even talk myself into being in an abundance mindset right now.
Yeah.
And it gave me a look into, it made me, I guess, a little softer towards that because I'm like, it's so easy. Why don't you just, and when things are good, it is easy. Yeah. And you forget when things are bad, it's scary. It can be very scary.
Yeah.
It got to the point where she sold her house to keep us afloat.
No way.
And she was only my girlfriend.
I was very angry having to do that, though. I was like, I don't know how we even worked through that. I was so deep in on the relationship. There were definitely many moments where I was like, I just need to leave this relationship. Like, what am I doing? But we made the commitment, and I knew that everything else, like if it wasn't for the money, everything else was perfect, right? We got along so well. And if you really dive into that, money is probably the easiest problem you can fix.
Yeah, because it has nothing to do with your relationship.
Yes. Yeah. Other people suffer in their relationships but have all the money. And so I was like, okay, you know what? We can solve this together. But I was definitely angry at the time having to sell a house.
This journey that I've even heard this much about just makes your relationship that much more beautiful. Like I really love this. I mean, not for you. I don't love it for you. That you had to go through it.
We're
okay, I
so
love
grateful
it
for all of it.
Yeah, because there was
Where we're at
definitely
now.
some very sweet moments where I got to see his effort, even though we didn't have all the money. We would have like little date nights where we pulled like the couch cushions out to the patio and we just stared up at the sky. There was other nights where like we were borrowing our neighbor's internet because we wanted to watch a movie from the laptop.
So we
Are you serious?
We watched it with candle lights, like little candles, because the electricity was out.
I brought in our patio furniture for Valentine's Day because we were like in the middle of Valentine's Day. It was rough.
Yeah.
And I brought in the patio table that was like a cocktail table and put a white sheet over it and had a candlelight dinner. Candlelight dinner in the kitchen. Put up stream lights. And then afterwards, after dinner, removed it and did like a dance party. And like I built a whole playlist.
Yeah. That is so. Do you guys have pictures of that?
We have videos. Yeah, sure. Yeah, we filmed it.
We might have to pop one into this video.
We'll
like,
it
yeah.
It was good.
Yeah.
It was good. You get creative when you have no other choice, honestly. Yeah. So, but we did get to learn a lot about each other during this time, like how we handled stress and how we managed it together. And I wouldn't take back any of it. It really just adds to the strength of our relationship.
Well, I think that a lot of couples end up getting married before their relationship's been challenged at all.
That's what I was going to say. You guys
and it leads to divorce because then they don't know, you don't know your partner if you don't know how they handle
high stress,
tragedies.
All of it.
Yeah. And so then that eventually inevitably happens and you don't know how they're going to handle it. And
yeah, it's like you guys you upfronted all the trauma in your relationship, all the challenges.
all
Yeah.
in one.
And
like,
so now
really
you can
quick.
have a beautiful relationship moving forward.
Yeah.
Not to say that there's not going to be ups and downs, but
Right.
it seems like you guys got, hopefully,
Yeah.
all of that out of the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We always say we just took the fast route to the happiness
to
part.
peace, which was the hardest route.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
we've been, gosh, that was the first 18 months or so. We've been almost 2.5 years in a just beautiful, peaceful place. We still obviously have our conflicts, but it's
Little
like
tiffs.
maybe monthly. And before
Yeah.
it was like multiple times a week.
Yeah, I'm surprised. I mean, just to get out of that, that's when relationships crumble. It's when you're having it and your life just becomes dark because you're going to the one place that should make you happy and it's not
It's
what you
not.
wanted.
Yeah.
Yep.
But you don't want to let go. Okay, so you eventually crawled out of that situation. How long was that for?
That was about 6 months.
Yeah.
And then we ended up, when is this going to be posted?
This one?
Yeah.
Monday, I believe.
Monday? Okay.
What's today?
We should be
Wednesday?
okay.
Yeah, we should be good.
Yeah.
So we
got
actually,
creative with our lease.
Yeah. So we ended up forging a lease essentially, like, because she still owned the house.
Yeah, I still own the house and I still had my real estate license. And so our income actually didn't reflect enough to get to the place where we live in now.
Which is the Kierland Altima, which
Yeah.
is like
Yes.
one of the
So we
nicest
wouldn't
places.
have
That's a
qualified if you looked at
I love that.
our income. And so what I did is I created a fake lease.
Give
And
me all the tips and
Yeah.
tricks. Yes.
I created a fake lease and they counted it as income and did the whole like official documents and stuff. And then, we count that.
We
qualified
didn't even
us.
have the $500 to put down a deposit
We
to
had to
get
ask
the
for a
apartment that we
friend.
wanted,
Yeah.
let alone increase our rent significantly.
Yeah.
And we had a
No.
friend Venmo'd us $400.
But we
we only
knew the
had-
money was coming though because I was waiting for the close of the house.
Yeah.
So that part we knew, but to get to the actual apartment, we had to do a little criminal activity.
Yeah.
But
I'm all for it. Let's
Yeah.
go.
Yeah, we
Tell me
knew-
more.
We
We
made it
knew that if we
happen.
moved in there, it was going to inspire us to level up.
yeah.
And then she actually gave me, she's like, all right, like I knew I needed to get back into coaching because I wasn't going to let our livelihood depend on this other business anymore.
You into coaching. Is that your passion? Is that what
That's just what
He's
I
so
do.
good at it.
okay.
That's just what I do.
Okay.
Yep. And I've been doing it now for 6 years. I've coached over 500 clients now. So that's my main thing.
Wow.
Yeah. So she's like, you've got 2 months, go build something, get back into coaching. And,
Yeah, I
and she
took
let
the
me,
sell of the house and
I
I let
worked
him
like
focus
16
on it.
hours a day for two months. And
16 hours a day?
yeah, I mean, at the
That's
time,
like our
that was
normal work
yeah.
hours now.
Yeah.
Still.
Oh, gosh.
No, we're probably down to 12, 14.
You're making me
Yeah.
tired. Honestly, for you.
yeah.
I'm like,
But
Yeah.
But it's in stuff that we love, so it doesn't really
Yeah,
feel like that.
okay.
Like I'm excited. Like I woke up this morning at 4:30 and immediately started editing a solo podcast video for a
He's
podcast
just
I'm about to
starting, yeah.
launch.
oh, I need your guys' energy on me. Like, like
So so then I launched that, got right back into coaching, and got back to having consistent income, and then we got into a decent place by the end of 2023, and she hadn't seen her family in the Philippines in like 4 years, and so we booked a trip.
I didn't see my. Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And so we booked a trip out there, and we figured, okay, well, since we're going to be out there, I've never been to Southeast Asia. I'd love to go to Bali, love to check out a couple other places. So we went to Bali for a few weeks, then Philippines for a few weeks, and then Singapore for a week. And so we traveled for 7 weeks through Southeast Asia, got to see her family. And during that 7 weeks, this is just like an example of like really where we're at. We had 2 tiffs that were like maybe a couple minutes, and one like 2-hour argument in the airport because
at the airport of all places.
Yeah.
because our it just lasted that long. Like we created space and then came back together eventually and
Okay.
solved it. Yeah,
I
we
love
weren't
the
arguing
space.
for 2 hours.
Yeah.
Because a third party, I booked a flight through a third party and they canceled our flight, didn't send us a notification on it.
So we were stuck in Bali.
And we were and trying to get to the
Before
Philippines before
Christmas.
Christmas, yeah. And so it led to a conflict, but overall we went 7 weeks spending every single waking moment together, and that was all that happened. Everything else we just had
That's
an absolute
beautiful.
blast.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
we've been pretty good ever since. Like
Yeah.
we, like he said, we have tiffs. We're not like some
Well,
unrealistic couple. We argue.
Yeah, if you don't have arguments, that means like
passion's
or
not
some
even there.
level of
Yeah, the passion
conflict
there
or
needs
confrontation.
to be.
Yes.
Yes,
But-
and that's growth.
Oh,
That
and
enables growth.
And you're also like, if that's not happening, most likely there is avoidance of difficult conversations that are happening. And if that's
Ooh.
happening, then resentment, like I said earlier,
Yeah.
is building, and that destroys intimacy, connection, everything.
Everything. It's a poison.
Which is why open communication is so important.
Yeah.
Like and this was something we really had to work through, because it only takes 2 or 3 poor reactions from your partner when you're trying to be honest about something for you to start decreasing your level of honesty or your how often you're honest and holding things in, and then they build up. And then when you do have an argument, now all of a sudden she's including 10 different things because she doesn't feel safe talking to you or opening up to you. And that was the case at certain points.
Yeah. But I think one thing that we've really, and I think that this has been very helpful for both of us, is we really have a routine of a morning walk. We always start our morning
That
with
is
God, and then we walk
so
together.
Yeah.
Great.
And it's so nourishing for us because we both do work a lot of hours. And it's just nice because it's like we're putting our priorities and what actually matters first before the business, before we go and get into other things that are going to pull us away.
And then we
That
close
is-
the day with a walk too.
Yeah.
And we haven't
It's
had
been a
gotten
game
the
changer.
conversation
Yeah.
on God. That was a whole different thing because I didn't believe in God whatsoever.
That's
I
a
was
whole
repelled
different level, yeah.
by God, Jesus, amen, anything that felt
that's
like
going to
it.
be a good conversation because that's a big thing that separates people too.
Yeah.
But she was praying for me for 2 years without me knowing.
Secretly.
Yeah.
Wow,
And-
you were a strong woman.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to give
Yeah.
credit to both of you because you guys both showed up to the plate. Because someone or one person in the relationship can come to the table ready to do the work, but if the other person isn't, then it's just
It doesn't.
it
Yeah.
just doesn't work.
Yeah.
I know we're at time. I want, if you guys can, if you feel comfortable, leaving the audience with maybe a couple, I don't know, a couple things that someone in a relationship right now, if they're struggling, can do. I know you've already said, be transparent. What are some of those key things that you can do, even right now, if somebody's struggling with their relationship? What can they do to get back into a better place, or at least start that? And then also, where can folks find you guys? I know you guys, do you both have a podcast?
He's just starting
I'm
his.
just about to launch mine.
How
Yeah.
fun. What is it
It's
called?
Make Men Godly Again.
That's strong.
Yeah.
That's strong.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, that is amazing.
So, and hers is This Feels
This
Holy.
feels holy.
And what are they both about, really quick?
Mostly God, about the journey with God, how our pursuit with him and our relationship with him has really shifted our perspective on a lot of things, how it's opened us up and really healed us on a sustainable piece. Because we've explored New Age spiritualism, we've explored all sorts of different modalities, and none have been able to sustain the peace that we now feel. Because
That's
it's
beautiful.
Yeah, it's not. We're not relying on each other anymore to make this relationship valuable. We have our relationship with God first and foremost, and then it strengthens us as a couple together.
Yeah, it's like that organic love. I mean, that's what it is.
Yeah.
All love.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. So I think as far as like a last nugget, maybe.
Yeah, I have a nugget I want to share.
Yeah.
I have one.
I want to hear it.
Go first. Since you're so excited.
So for me, I think what really has shifted our relationship is the whole concept of taking responsibility. The whole be the first to become aware is the first one responsible. And sometimes we can get into our ego and
In conflict specifically.
in
speaking about.
conflicts specifically, yeah. So if you're arguing and you have a twinge where you're like, oh, I think I'm stepping out of line, or oh, I think I shouldn't have said that. There's these tiny little hints that happen in our minds, whether we reject them or not, they exist. And so when you become aware of that, rather than pointing the other finger and justifying your behavior, like say for example, like he responds poorly and now I'm responding poorly, I could be like, well, if he didn't say that in the first place, then I wouldn't have reacted this way. If I continue to go down that road, none of us would find a way to make this, like we wouldn't be able to resolve the conflict. So instead, I take it upon myself. I'm like, okay, how can I calm myself? How can I respond better to the way that he responded? And now it's my responsibility because I'm aware that this is starting to get out of hand.
There's nothing more attractive, too, than someone that can be emotionally stable or practical with what needs to happen next. And again, accountable, number one.
Yeah. And it's like, it's, you know, you could, like I said, you could point the other finger and blame the other person. But at the end of the day, you're responsible for you.
Yes.
Well, and in that, no matter what, how they come to you and how they address something, there's no matter what, there's a version of you that can respond better. And so taking responsibility takes your power back. And instead of giving it away to whatever you blame.
Yeah.
And so if you focus on what you can control, which is your actions and reactions, then instead of blaming, well, if you didn't address it that way, then I wouldn't be saying this. Like, it's so natural.
Yeah.
It's almost like leading. You're like having to be the leader in the relationship by showing by example of this is how I'm going to come to the table. You can either follow
suit or we separate. It's like you're not going to want to keep yelling at somebody who's not fighting back.
Yeah,
right. It's like our moral compass to not want to just be aggressive with something being so sweet. So if he's yelling at me and I decide to internalize instead and just say, hey, if we keep speaking to each other in this way, I'm going to have to separate myself. And if he keeps going, then actually take the action and say, we're going to take a moment. Because nothing is going to be resolved while you're that heated. Yeah. Absolutely nothing.
Communication when emotionally charged is just like, that's the rule. Like we used to have a safety word.
Yeah, arm floaties.
Arm floaties.
Okay.
was our safety
word. Just make me laugh just
yeah.
to hear it.
Well, we thought that too.
But it doesn't
but
eventually.
It didn't. By the time you actually need it, it's not funny.
Tried that.
But the biggest thing is actually respecting it.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
if I say arm floaties, and not another word is said, we create space immediately. Yeah. We'll come back together.
As much as like your blood boils to the
it's
top,
so
you're like,
hard.
I want to say something, but
just one more thing.
Yeah.
Just one word.
Yeah. But it's like, I know when the time comes when I say the safety word, he's going to have to respect it. So it's like we both just have that deep respect for each other during those times.
We only ever had to use it twice, but
yeah.
I think the only nugget I would give is to live in truth, because we lie to ourselves and each other so much.
Ourselves mainly, yeah.
Yeah. And so it's just, if you're struggling in your relationship, there's truths that are not being said, and they need to be said in order to be resolved.
That's beautiful.
So
yeah, and it might not come out exactly the way you want to. I know we can like think up these conversations in our head and how it's going to go, and we try to say the exact words, but the best way that you're going to be able to communicate that is just being honest with exactly how you feel and working it out as you go.
And let go of the expectation.
Yes. And it's usually not ever as bad as you anticipate it.
No.
It gets way worse in your head.
Yeah.
Yes, the mind is the worst at times.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Dylan Warter on Instagram and Danna Gift on Instagram.
Danna. It looks like Danna.
Yeah.
I know, I wasn't sure, but I like that. Yeah. Different. Okay.
Yeah.
Donna and Dylan, everyone.
Double D's.
Double D's. Okay, thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.